Alrighty, well, good evening and welcome to our regularly scheduled Zoning Advisory Commission meeting on this January 4th, 2023. Call this meeting to order. Sheena, if you would please call roll.
Yes. Zaccaro?
Aye.
Kemp? Here.
Oh, here, sorry.
Christ?
Here.
Mulligan?
Here.
And Norton and Russell are excused this evening.
Thank you very much. Sheena, can you please confirm we're in compliance with the Iowa Open Meetings Law?
We are.
I'm also here.
Commissioners, in front of you are our meeting minutes from our previous meeting on December the 7th. I would entertain any modifications or a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 7, 2022 minutes as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Sheena, if you would, please.
Zaccaro?
Aye.
Christ?
Aye.
Kemp?
Aye.
Semp?
Aye.
Mulligan?
Aye. Okay, so those minutes are approved as submitted. So with that, we've got two items on our agenda this evening, both being public hearings. We'll move on to item number 1 to amend the planned unit development. I believe we have Joe from IMON here this evening. Come on up, Joe. We'd ask you present your name, address, and what you're here for.
Okay, my name is Joe Myers. I live at 683 6th Avenue, Conroy, Iowa. It's a long way away. So I'm here to build a communication structure. I represent IMON Communications. We're based out of Cedar Rapids, and we're looking for a home for one of our 12 by 20 structures. Initially, we were going to go with the city into the data center that's out there, and that kind of fell through for us. And now I'm looking at other properties around the same vicinity because we'd like to build around there because we've got, we've got city duct actually that we kind of go into. So it would be convenient to build around the same area that we kind of planned on building, around where the Windstream data center is. You guys all know where that is, out there on Digital Drive. So since we're not getting into the data center, I found a small piece of property that I would like to build that structure on it. It's a precast 12 by 20 foot structure. I put one by the fire station up on 32nd and 32nd and Central. And it's going to be pretty much identical to that one from the outside.
Okay.
Is there anything else? I mean,
Thank you, Joe. That was great.
Okay.
Any questions? Joe, is that a stamped architectural drawing I just saw?
no, that's my drawing. It's colorful, and
Very good.
but I did scale everything out, so we should be looking. No, that's all right.
Oh, very good. All right, that's all we needed. Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
All right, so being that this is a public hearing, we'll open that up for public input. Seeing none, we'll close it. And we'll move on to the staff report.
Yes, Planning Services Manager Wally Wernemont. Just as Mr. Joe Myers has indicated, they've been working with the city of Dubuque to help locate a location for a fiber optic hub. And they've been working with our Information Services Manager, Chris Coleman, and Dave Lyons with Greater Butte Development Corporation. They were looking out in the tech park to be placed in one of the other facilities out there. It wasn't going to work. They're looking for something on the south side. Like you mentioned, the current hub that was built is on the north side. They need a location on the south side of our community. This parcel was identified, shown on the map here. It is actually a small triangular piece of property. It has platted county right-of-way. that goes through the property. There's overhead power lines. There's some other utilities that are located at that site. But on the planned unit development for the technology park, it's actually identified as public open space, which is not really being used by the public. It's pretty much being used by utilities, to be honest with you. So one of the requests to locate this hub structure was to actually place it on this site. And in order to do so, it needs to be rezoned, and the PUD needs to be amended. So we placed a request here to amend the technology park PUD. Currently, there's a Zone A and Zone B out there that lists all the permitted uses that are allowed in those locations. And so we're actually creating Zone C, and in Zone C would allow this fiber optic hub building to be located at that parcel. In addition, it gets involved with setback requirements. There are some reduced setback requirements. A site plan will be required to be submitted. The structure will be screened from view. We've actually had some review of the preliminary layout, just to make sure there's not going to be any impacts with all the utilities that are located there. So it is kind of a good location for this for this use of the property at that location. And then in addition to this, since we were amending the plan unit development, we actually looked at updating the entire PUD to reference our current Unified Development Code, because when the PUD was written back in 2008, it referenced our old zoning section, zoning ordinance sections. Now we're just referencing the same sections, but in our Unified Development Code. And then in addition, we always like to provide an ordinance history now with plan unit developments, kind of talk about the history, what it was zoned, how it's changed over time. And then we created this exhibit with the attachment that helps identify the Zone C, which identifies that this will be used for the ability to have that fiber optic hub building placed at that location. So we're actually going to be rescinding a couple of ordinances, modifying them, and adopting them with this new ordinance, if approved by the Zoning Advisory Commission and City Council. That's all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Wally? All right, I'll bring it back to the commission then. Any additional conversation? If not, look to a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve amending the Dubuque Technology Park Plan Unit Development as submitted. I'll second.
Okay, Sheena, we have a motion and we have a second.
Okay. Semp,
Aye.
Kemp,
Aye.
Christ,
Aye.
Zuccaro,
Aye.
Mulligan.
Aye. Okay, so Mr. Myers, as submitted, your application was approved by the Zoning Advisory Commission. Thank you.
This will go on to the January 17th City Council meeting.
Okay,
Yep.
that sounds great. I think it's better, right?
All right, our next item on the agenda is a text amendment. Applicant being the City of Dubuque. Sheena?
Yes, good evening, Commission. Sheena Moon, Associate Planner. So the purpose of this proposed text amendment this evening is to modify two sections of our Unified Development Code, specifically Section 1611-8, which is pertaining to subdivision design standards, as well as Section 1613-3, which pertains to site development regulations. And the amendments that are being proposed are both specific to the extension of public improvements. The city has currently a number of policies that we implement around the extension of public utilities. This would apply to water mains, sanitary sewer, fiber optic, streetlights, network conduits, fiber optic network conduits, as well as bike hike trails. And so what this proposed amendment would do was take those policies that we've been implementing for quite some time now and just codify them into the Unified Development Code. This would allow for, just a little bit stronger enforcement of those policies, as well as some transparency for applicants and developers to see those code requirements when developing a project in the city. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions you might have specific to this.
Thank you, Sheena. Any questions? All right, this is a public hearing, so we'll open it up to the public. And seeing none, we will close it. Anything additionally to add, Sheena?
I do not.
Very good. Tell you what, gang, unless we've got questions, we'll entertain a motion.
I did have a question before, and I just want to ask it again during the meeting. So the requirement to extend public utilities, any of these improvements, is this pretty standard with any development in other communities as well?
Yeah, so Wally, we're my Plan Services Manager. So when we get involved with our development review team and we go through subdivision standards and site plan requirements, the extension of utilities to the adjoining property is typically required. We have policies that have been in place for many years, especially for water, sanitary sewer, and everything like that. Like Sheena's mentioned, they've been policies. So a lot of times, it doesn't provide a lot of clarity to a developer who may be looking at something. And sometimes they may feel that, oh, we're being arbitrary when we state something. And it's easier just to put it in a codified document so it's out in the open that this is a requirement that you extend water, sewer, utilities, and streets to adjoining properties. That all typically gets handled during a preliminary plat process, which come before you. There's a lot of development review discussion before we bring those preliminary plats and final plats to this department. But then, in addition to that, we're also amending the site plan requirement sections because there are opportunities in our community where we may have a site that was subdivided, but the intention was not to have adjoining properties be extended, or a new roadway may come through. And this just helps provide a little bit more background from a site plan standpoint. But yes, typically other communities are requiring that those utilities be extended, not only for planning purposes, for the extension of the roadway network and sanitary sewer and some other things, but it's just good planning principles to be following. So, cool. Otherwise, an example would be if a developer develops a lot and say there's a lot behind them and they only extend the sanitary sewer to their property, then they're in the point of having to negotiate either with the city, and sometimes those sanitary sewer lines are not in the right of way, they're on private property. So then now you're in a situation where you have one private developer holding another private developer, through a negotiation. Those are typically all handled through the development review process, and this just helps provide more of that clarity that will be a requirement. So,
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a, oh, you going?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I make a motion to amend the Unified Development Code, Section 1611.8, subdivision design standards, and Section 1613.3, site development requirements regarding extension of public improvements.
I'll second.
Okay. Sheena, we have a motion and we have a second.
Thank you. Christ,
Aye.
Zakara,
Aye.
Semp,
Aye.
Mulligan,
Aye.
Kemp.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes, and it will go to city council on, does it go to city? It would go to city.
yep, January 17th, City Council.
17th.
Yep.
A Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, that's Tuesday.
What'd you say? Tuesday?
It's a Tuesday because of Martin Luther King.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr.
Okay, so we'll move on to any items from the public. Seeing none. Any items from the commission this evening? Okay, seeing none. Any items from staff?
I think we just wanted to mention the board and commissioner training. That will be, and I'll let Wally elaborate a little bit more. You'll be seeing more information on this. You're invited on April 24th. That's a Monday evening. But I don't know, Wally, if you want to elaborate a little bit more on what the specifics are.
Sure, yeah. So Iowa State University puts on a planning and zoning introduction to, basics, but it's a great information for public officials. So that's anyone from the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Zoning Advisory Commission, City Council members. It's an opportunity to just get the basics understanding of, zoning code. What is the statutes in the state of Iowa? What's the powers and authority delegated down to individual bodies? They also talk about case law that comes up, common things that may come before a board or a commission. It's a nice interactive way where a commissioner or city council or board can actually ask questions, that may come up. And it's just an overall great training. We've done it in the past. I don't know, Martha, if you've attended one. I mean, it's been quite a while. It's probably been 6 or 7 years since we've done the last one. Typically, we do send off staff in our office to those, but we're actually going to host it this year. I put a budget request in that was approved. And so we're encouraging, if you have the ability to attend, the city council is being invited as well as the zoning board of adjustment for that. So it's a great opportunity to kind of have that groundwork provided to you from someone other than the planning department, so.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And that's in the evening on the 24th?
Yes.
24th.
Yep, April 24th, yep.
And we'll send out more information in advance for that, so.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, with that, how about we entertain a motion for adjournment?
A motion to adjourn?
Second?
A motion and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks.